That morning, I took a little boy to the safari park and I left Ayda with my mum. And I get a Facebook Messenger call off my neighbour, Sarah. She didn't want to say over the phone, but I was like, tell me what's going on. And she was like, Alex, Ayda's in trouble. And my heart just dropped. Grabbed my little boy, got in the car, and I don't even know how I drove home. And my little boy's in the front, like panicking, like, is Ayda okay? Is Ayda okay? And I'm screaming. When I got here, there was actually police cars stopping people out the estate, checking the boots to see if anyone had abducted her.
Now, opposite the house is a lake. Terrain is quite bad going down there, and it was raining heavily. So the police officer ran in front of me and he fell over.
One officer spotted her in the lake. He thought it was a plastic bag in the middle of the lake. Ayda was face down, submerged, and it was a nappy that had expanded and it kept her afloat. The other officer, he just dove in and was giving her rescue breaths while he was swimming backwards.
She was just so little. She was just so tiny. That's all I could see. This tiny little thing with it, with a nappy on and her leggings, and I remember exactly, what she was wearing.
At the time, I was just screaming, like, please let me get to my little girl. I was just struggling, just saying, please, can you just tell me if she's alive? I just need to hold her. And they were just saying, you need to let them work on her. You need to calm down. And the fact that no one could give me any answers, I thought it was really, really bad. I knew this was bad. If there was, some sort of hope, they'd have given me some sort of hope, I think, to try and calm down a hysterical mother. I can remember just praying in my head, please, let her survive this by some miracle.
Truthfully, she looked like a dead child to me. She was pale, she was lifeless. She just looked, there was no signs of life whatsoever.
While it was all going on, I thought if she doesn't get, the oxygen to the brain that she needed, she could, had some brain damage if she survived it.
We knew we needed more people there as well to help us. I think there was some chest compressions going on. I could just see this lifeless child. Lee was ventilating her. There was no signs of life whatsoever. And I did fear the worst. And then Lee shocked me with what he said. He said, Paul, I think I've got a pulse. And I think it was around that time when Mike and Rob came from the air ambulance. They're exposed to stuff like this a lot more than most paramedics on the road are. So their level of experience and expertise is the best around.
I think the air ambulance, they were working on Ayda at the bottom of the bank. Like, the bank is so steep. I'd attempted to run down that bank and they'd stopped me.
Her eyes were open, no signs of life, no signs of response whatsoever, soaking wet, dirty. And that was a situation we were faced with, really. A child that had drowned, had been resuscitated from cardiac arrest, now had a pulse back, but was being ventilated by the crew. My thoughts from the clinical side of things was that we were going to have to try and stabilise Ayda as well as we can, whilst I know Mike was considering now the plan for how we can get her away from here and what further care she might need after that. There was a really steep slope there, which we'd all got down already to get to the scene. It was quite muddy, it was quite slippery. We now needed to move her up the slope to get to the area where the doctor crew would arrive, where the ambulance was. I remember moving into the ambulance and it was about preparing for a safe pre-hospital anaesthetic for Ayda, really. We've got a child here that's drowned. The lungs may have fluid in them. They're likely to be irritated from the water that's entered the lungs. She's got water and vomit that's come out of her stomach. It's compromising, like the air passing through her airway. She's not ventilating well. She's not breathing well. The solution to that at that time is to actually stop her breathing. And that doesn't seem very intuitive, of course, but when you then manage the airway yourself by placing the breathing tube in, you then have control of how she does that. And you can actually make sure that it's happening better than she would be able to do for herself because of the situation that she's been in. So addressing it with an anaesthetic was really, really important for her. That's quite a challenging task. The drug dosages have to be right, the airway sizes have to be right, there has to be adequate levels of IV access.
And then I got to Alder. She had like little twigs in her hair. She had all mud all over her, and she smelled of like the pond water. She had like grit in her eyes. And they got me some saline and some gauze, and I was just cleaning her eyes. I felt like that's the only thing I could do. They sat me down, and it was a neurologist. She said, it's not looking good for Ayda. She's very sick. She's potentially had 20 minutes of hypoxia to the brain. If she does make it off the vent, she's going to be severely brain damaged. Felt like I was in a nightmare. Then I just found myself just praying to God, like, I'll never do anything wrong in my life again. If you just let her live, and I'd be okay. When the 48 hours were over for her brain rest and we were going to do an MRI scan, hopefully the swelling in her brain would have gone down. They lowered the sedation. Apparently she'd sat up, she'd pulled an NG tube out, and she was snarling all the nurses, and she was trying to pull a catheter out. And then she went for her MRI, and Mr. Svinty said there's no brain damage, perfectly healthy 3-year-old brain. I could have kissed him.
Given how ill she was, just to have survived would have been remarkable, but to have survived with essentially no sort of ongoing problems is unbelievable, really.
She died. She was dead when they pulled her out of the water. She'd suffered a cardiac arrest, and they brought her back, and by some miracle, she's exactly the same little girl. She's come out unscathed.
She gave me this card. Ayda had done 2 handprints and made it into a flower, and she wrote upon it, because of you, these hands will grow.
If everything happened a little bit differently on that day, we could have a completely different outcome. I'm just so grateful that they got there in the time that they did, and they did what they had to do for her, and I've got a perfectly healthy child now who's come out unscathed.